The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber swung open with a low hum. Every head in the circular room turned to watch High Counselor Reed enter. He walked with calm, measured steps across the polished floor, his simple black uniform standing out among the elaborate robes of the alien representatives. The chamber itself was a marvel of architecture, with towering crystal walls that stretched up hundreds of meters. Floating platforms held the representatives of over 200 spacefaring civilizations. Light from the system's 3 suns filtered through the crystal, casting rainbow patterns across the assembly. Supreme Director Vale stood at the central podium, his gray skin reflecting the light. His 4 eyes narrowed as Reed approached. The human showed no sign of worry or fear, which made Vale uncomfortable. This meeting was meant to put humanity in its place, yet their representative acted as if he were attending a casual lunch. High Counselor Reed, Vale's voice boomed through the chamber. "You know why you have been summoned here today." Reed stopped at the designated spot and looked up at the floating platforms. His expression remained neutral. "Perhaps you should tell everyone present, Supreme Director, for the sake of transparency." Vale's upper eyes blinked in annoyance. "Very well. 3 days ago, our monitoring stations detected unusual energy signatures from Earth's research facilities on Mars. After analysis, we confirmed that humanity has developed quantum-fold technology." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives leaned forward in interest. Others drew back in fear. Quantum-fold technology had been theoretical until now, the ability to manipulate space-time itself. This technology is too dangerous for a species as young as humanity to possess. Vale continued. "The Council has voted. You have 30 standard days to surrender all research data and prototype devices to Council custody." Reed clasped his hands behind his back. "And if we refuse, then Earth will face sanctions. No trade, no travel, no communications with any Council world." Vale's voice grew harder. "Your colonies will be isolated. Your ships will be turned away from every port. You will be alone." The chamber fell silent, waiting for Reed to beg for mercy or argue against the decision. Instead, he did something that would be remembered for years to come. He smiled. It wasn't a big smile, just a small upward turn of his lips, but it sent a chill through the chamber. 30 days, Reed said quietly. "That's your deadline." "That is correct," Vale answered, suddenly unsure why he felt uneasy. Reed nodded once. Then, without another word, he turned and walked toward the exit. The silence in the chamber grew heavier with each step he took. "High Counselor," Vale called out. "You have not given the Council your answer." Reed paused at the doors. He didn't turn around when he spoke. "I believe I just did." The doors closed behind him with a soft click that somehow seemed louder than any shout could have been. In the upper viewing gallery, Council analyst Marcus watched the human leave. Unlike the others, who were already arguing about Reed's disrespect, Marcus felt his stomach turn with worry. He had studied human history extensively. This wasn't how humans acted when they were afraid or backed into a corner. This was how they acted when they knew something you didn't. Vale called for order as the chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives demanded immediate action. Others called for patience. But Marcus wasn't listening anymore. He was thinking about all the small changes he'd noticed in human behavior over the past year. The gradual withdrawal of human merchants from major trade routes, the quiet stockpiling of resources at their colonies, the increasing number of human ships that had mechanical problems and needed to return to Earth. They hadn't just developed quantum-fold technology recently. This was something else, something bigger. And Marcus had a feeling that in 30 days, the Council was going to regret giving humanity such a generous deadline. 5 days had passed since the Council meeting, and Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat in his dimly lit office, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from across human space. Something wasn't right. "Computer, show me shipping traffic to Earth's colonies again," he said, rubbing his tired eyes. The main display changed, showing lines of movement between stars. What he saw made his scales itch with worry. The traffic was moving in one direction only, toward Earth. Colony ships, cargo vessels, mining platforms, everything was going home. But they weren't moving in panic. Each movement was careful, planned, like pieces in a game being put back in their box. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. "Analyst Marcus," a voice called. "Supreme Director Vale requests your presence in the emergency chamber." Marcus found Vale staring out the window at the golden rings of the council homeworld. 3 other council members stood nearby, their expressions grim. "Tell them what you told me," Vale ordered without turning around. Marcus cleared his throat. "We've lost all diplomatic contact with Earth and its colonies. Their embassies are empty. Communication channels are open, but no one is responding. It's like they've gone silent on purpose. A childish attempt to worry us," one of the council members said. "They're trying to show defiance." "There's more," Marcus continued. "Our long-range scanners have detected massive energy spikes in Earth's solar system. They're building something, multiple somethings. The energy readings are off the charts." Now Vale turned around. "How did they hide this level of activity from us?" Marcus brought up a hologram showing Earth's solar system. "They didn't hide it. We just weren't paying attention. Look at these construction patterns. They've been building in plain sight for years. We thought they were making normal space stations and defense platforms. But now..." He touched a control, and the hologram changed to show new analysis. The seemingly random construction projects suddenly linked together like pieces of a giant puzzle. "It's all connected," Marcus explained. "Every satellite, every station, every seemingly innocent piece of infrastructure. They're all part of something bigger. We just couldn't see the pattern until now." "Impossible," another council member scoffed. "Humans are clever, yes, but they're not that sophisticated. They're barely 2 centuries into space travel." Marcus pulled up another display. 2 centuries where they've had access to technology from every species in the council. We all gave them diplomatic gifts, pieces of our technology to help them develop. But we never considered what would happen if someone found ways to combine all those different technologies. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "That's not the worst part," Marcus added quietly. "The colonies are empty." "What do you mean, empty?" Vale demanded. "I mean empty. Our scans show no human life signs on any of their colonial worlds. The buildings are there, the infrastructure is intact, but the people are gone. Over 10 billion humans have seemingly vanished from their colonies in the past year, and we never noticed because they did it so slowly, so carefully." Vale's face darkened. "Find them. Now." "We can't," Marcus admitted. "Something's interfering with our scans of Earth's solar system. We can detect energy signatures, but nothing else. It's like they've put up a curtain around their whole system." One of the council members laughed nervously. "They're bluffing. This is all just an elaborate show of defiance. In 25 days, they'll have no choice but to give us their quantum-fold technology." Marcus looked at the data streams flowing across his pad. He thought about human history, about how their wars had been won and lost. Humans didn't think like council species. They didn't play by the same rules. "No," he said softly. "In 25 days, I think we're going to find out what they've been planning all along. And I don't think we're going to like it." Outside the window, the golden rings of the council world shimmered peacefully. Marcus wondered how much longer that peace would last. Admiral Stone stood at the center of Earth's new command center, deep inside Olympus Mons on Mars. The massive chamber hummed with activity as officers monitored screens showing the positions of humanity's hidden fleet. After a century of preparation, everything was finally ready. "Status report," Stone ordered, his voice calm despite the weight of the moment. "All colony evacuations are complete." "Admiral," reported Commander Hayes from her station. 10 billion civilians safely relocated to the Sol system bunker worlds. The Council still hasn't detected our underground bases on Mercury, Venus, or the Jovian moons." Stone nodded, remembering how this all began. 100 years ago, Earth's leaders had made a critical decision. Every time an alien race gave them a diplomatic gift of technology, they wouldn't just copy it. They would understand it, improve it, and combine it with other gifts in ways the aliens never imagined. The main screen showed their greatest achievement, the new human defense fleet. 5,000 ships, each one combining technology from different alien races in unique ways. The Council races had always kept their technologies separate, never thinking to mix them. But humans love to experiment. "Show me the Thunderhead-class ships," Stone ordered. The display changed to show massive battleships that looked nothing like traditional Council vessels. They had taken the energy shields of one race, the stealth systems of another, and the weapon designs of a third. But the real secret was how they had modified these systems to work together, creating ships more powerful than anything the Council had. "Remember when the Artaxians gave us their old shield technology?" Commander Hayes smiled. "They thought it was outdated, but we found out it could be combined with Meridian power cores to create something entirely new." Stone walked to another display, showing the Quantum Fold project. And none of them realized that when they gave us pieces of their faster-than-light technology, we'd eventually figure out how to fold space itself. The room fell quiet as a new alert appeared on the main screen. Council scout ships were trying again to scan the Sol system. They couldn't see anything through the quantum interference field that now surrounded Earth's face. "They're getting nervous," Hayes noted. 20 days left until their deadline. Stone touched a control, bringing up images of Earth's other secret weapons. Satellites that could redirect energy from one star to another. Stations that could create artificial gravity wells. Platforms that could generate quantum barriers around entire planets. Each one built slowly, piece by piece, hidden in plain sight as normal construction projects. "Status of the Jupiter shipyards?" Stone asked. "Production continues at full speed, sir. The Council still thinks Jupiter's radiation makes it impossible to build anything in orbit there. They never realized we solved the radiation problem 50 years ago." Stone allowed himself a small smile. The Council races had always seen humans as clever children, given simple toys to help them grow. They never understood that humans had been collecting and studying those toys, learning how they worked, and planning for the day when the Council would try to control them. "Message from Director Wells at the Science Division," an officer called out. "The Quantum Fold network is fully operational. All human worlds can be connected or isolated at your command." Stone looked at the tactical display showing Council space, so vast, so powerful, and so unprepared for what was coming. Not because humanity wanted war. They didn't. They wanted equality. They wanted respect. And they had spent a century making sure they could demand it. "Send word to High Counselor Reed," Stone ordered. "Tell him Phase 1 is complete. Earth is ready." As the message was sent, Stone watched the ships of humanity's hidden fleet moving into their final positions. The Council thought they had given Earth an ultimatum. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed, a reason to reveal just how prepared they really were. 20 days, Stone said quietly. "Let's make them count." The Council's peacekeeping fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Proxima b, humanity's largest colony world. 50 warships, the pride of 6 different Council races, moved into attack formation. Their commanders felt confident. This show of force would make humanity understand its place in the galaxy. Fleet Commander Toll stood on his bridge, watching the blue-green world grow larger on his U-screen. "Scan for human defenses," he ordered. His crew worked at their stations, but the results made no sense. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, confusion in her voice, "we're not detecting any human life signs. No power signatures. No active technology. The cities are empty." Toll frowned. "That's impossible. This colony had 2 million humans last month." The fleet moved closer, spreading out to surround the planet. The cities below stood silent, Every building intact but completely abandoned. No signs of battle, no damage, no rushed evacuation. It was as if the humans had simply left. "Sir," another officer called out, "you need to see this." The main screen showed a mountain near the largest city. Carved into its face, in letters a kilometer high, was a message. "We woeren wu you once. There wontb astc into time." Tull felt a chill run down his spine. "Contact Council Command. Now." But before his communications officer could act, every sensor on every ship lit up with warnings. Space itself seemed to ripple around them, like waves on a pond. Multiple quantum signatures detected. His science officer shouted, "They're everywhere." Suddenly, a new ship appeared between Tull's fleet and the planet. It was huge, easily twice the size of his largest vessel. Its design was like nothing he'd ever seen. Parts of it seemed to fade in and out of reality, as if it wasn't fully in normal space. "Sir, we're being hailed," his communications officer reported. Tull nodded, trying to keep his voice steady. "Put it on screen." The face that appeared wasn't what he expected. Not a hardened military commander or an angry diplomat. Just an older human woman in a simple uniform, looking at him with what seemed like pity. "This is Admiral Stone of the Earth Defense Fleet," she said calmly. "You are currently within quantum fold space. Your weapons and faster-than-light drives will not function here. Please do not test this. I would hate to have to rescue your crews if your systems backfire." Tull tried to sound authoritative. "This is an illegal blockade of Council space. We demand." "You demand nothing," Stone interrupted, her voice still calm, but now carrying an edge of steel. "This stopped being Council space when you threatened Earth. The humans of Proxima B were evacuated weeks ago, along with all our other colonies. We knew you would try something like this." On Tull's tactical display, more human ships were appearing. Hundreds of them, surrounding his fleet in a three-dimensional web of quantum distortions. "We could destroy your ships," Stone continued, "but that's not our way. Instead, you're going to take a message back to the Council. The same message we carved into that mountain. We warned you once." The human ships began to move in perfect synchronization. Energy fields rippled between them, forming patterns that hurt Tull's eyes to look at. "You have 1 hour to leave this system," Stone said. "After that, we'll activate the quantum fold barrier. Anyone still here will be trapped in folded space until we decide to let them out. And Commander, when you report back to the Council, remind them that they have 15 days left to rethink their ultimatum." The transmission cut off. Tull looked at his tactical display again. His 50 ships, the mighty peacekeeping fleet, suddenly seemed very small against the vast array of human vessels surrounding them. "Signal the fleet," he ordered quietly. "We're leaving." As his ships turned to retreat, Tull watched the human vessels continue their strange dance through space. He had come to deliver a message of power. Instead, he had received one. And for the first time, he understood why Marcus had been so worried. Director Wells stood in her laboratory beneath the surface of Europa, Jupiter's icy moon. Holographic displays filled the room with swirling patterns of quantum mathematics that would have given most Council scientists headaches. To her, they were as simple as nursery rhymes. The door slid open, and Supreme Director Vale stepped in, flanked by 2 guards. His visit wasn't a surprise. After the Proxima B incident, the Council had finally requested a meeting to better understand the quantum fold technology. "Director Wells," Vale said stiffly, "your guards were very thorough in scanning us." Wells didn't look up from her calculations. Can't be too careful these days, especially when giving guided tours to people who threatened our species. Vale's upper eyes blinked in annoyance. "We are here to discuss your quantum fold technology. The Council believes there may be room for negotiation." Now Wells turned around, her gray hair catching the blue light from the holographic displays. "Negotiation? No. You're here because Commander Tull's report scared you. You want to know if what he saw was real. She pressed a button, and the center of the laboratory transformed into a miniature view of space. Tiny stars and planets orbited around them. The Council thinks quantum fold technology is just a new way to travel, Wells said, walking through the star field. That's like saying the computer is just a fancy calculator. You don't understand what we've actually built. She reached into the hologram and grabbed a star. The light twisted around her hand, stretching like taffy. We're not just moving through space anymore. We're reshaping it, folding it, making it dance to our tune. Vale watched as she manipulated the holographic space. Impossible. The energy requirements alone would be impossible using any one species technology. Wells finished for him. But we didn't use just one. We combined our Taxion power cores with meridian phase converters, added some theoretical work from the quantum sciences division, mixed in some principles from Earth's old quantum mechanics theories that everyone said were primitive. She released the star, and the hologram rippled. The Council races never share their best technology, never combine their knowledge. You're all so afraid of each other that you keep everything separate. But humans, we take things apart, put them back together in new ways. Ask questions nobody else thinks to ask. Vale stepped closer to the hologram. Show me. Wells smiled. With a wave of her hand, the star field changed to show a demonstration. A planet surrounded by quantum fold fields appeared. We can isolate entire solar systems, she explained. Cut them off from normal space while leaving them perfectly habitable inside. Or we can connect distant points in space, creating networks that ignore traditional physics. We can build walls that nothing can pass through, redirect energy across light years, even create stable pocket universes. She turned to face Vale directly. The technology you demanded we surrender. It's not a weapon. It's not even just a tool. It's a whole new way of understanding reality itself. Vale's face had grown pale. How long? How long have you really had this capability? Long enough to prepare everything we needed, Wells said. Long enough to make sure that when the Council finally showed its true colors, humanity would be ready. She shut down the hologram, leaving them in the normal lighting of the laboratory. You have 10 days left in your ultimatum. I suggest you use them wisely. Vale stood silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. The Council will never accept this level of power in human hands. The Council doesn't have a choice, Wells replied calmly. We're not asking for permission anymore. We're not even asking for acceptance. We're simply telling you how things are going to be from now on. She turned back to her work, clearly dismissing them. The universe is changing, Supreme Director. The only question is whether the Council will change with it or be left behind. As Vale and his guards were escorted out, Wells looked at the equations floating in the air around her. The Council thought they had come to negotiate. Instead, they had finally begun to understand just how completely they had underestimated humanity. 3 days before the Council's deadline, alarms blared throughout the Council's central space station. Emergency lights flashed as sensor operators shouted reports across the command center. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Energy readings off the scale. We're losing contact with the outer systems. Marcus rushed into the chamber just as Supreme Director Vale arrived. The main screen showed a map of Council space, and what Marcus saw made his blood run cold. One by one, human-controlled worlds were vanishing from the map. Not being destroyed, just disappearing behind shimmering walls of quantum energy. Each barrier was perfectly formed, a bubble of altered space-time that nothing could penetrate. How many? Vale demanded. All of them, Marcus answered quietly. Every human world, every colony, every outpost. They're all activating quantum barriers simultaneously. Vale gripped the railing of his command platform. Get me Admiral Stone. Now. The screen flickered, and Stone appeared. She sat calmly in her command chair, looking as relaxed as if she were at a casual meeting. Good morning, Supreme Director, she said. I assume you've noticed our defense network activating. Defense network. Vale's voice shook with rage. You've cut off half the trade routes in Council space. Stone nodded. Yes, we did. But that's just the first demonstration. Commander Hayes, if you would. The screen split to show a second image. The Council's largest shipyard, home to thousands of warships and construction facilities, floated in space. As they watched, massive human vessels appeared around it, moving in complex patterns. What you're about to see, Stone explained, is a localized quantum fold event. Don't worry, no one will be harmed. Energy fields stretched between the human ships, forming geometric patterns that seemed to bend reality itself. The shipyard shimmered, like a reflection in disturbed water. Then, in an instant, it vanished. What have you done? Vale whispered. Relocated it, Stone answered simply. The shipyard now exists in its own pocket of space-time. Everything inside is perfectly fine. The workers can continue their jobs as normal. They just can't leave until we restore it to normal space, which we will once certain conditions are met. Marcus checked his readings. She's right. Life signs are stable. No damage to any structures. They're just separated from the rest of the universe. Stone's expression grew more serious. We've prepared similar demonstrations for every major military installation in Council space. We can isolate them all with a single command. No bloodshed, no destruction, just a gentle reminder of what humanity is capable of. Vale slumped in his chair. Why? Why demonstrate this now? Because in 3 days, you plan to force us to surrender technology that we've had for decades, Stone replied. You thought you could bully us into submission. We're showing you why that was a mistake. She leaned forward. Humanity doesn't want war. We don't want to rule the Council. We just want to be treated as equals. And now you understand why we deserve that respect. The screen showed more human ships appearing throughout Council space, not attacking, not threatening, just taking up position with quiet, methodical precision. The choice is yours. Stone continued. You can accept a new reality where humanity has a real voice in galactic affairs, or you can watch as we reshape the galaxy around you. Either way, the old power structure is over. Vale looked at Marcus, who nodded slowly. There was no point fighting. Humanity had planned this for a century, moving pieces into place while the Council had dismissed them as children playing with borrowed toys. What are your terms? Vale finally asked. Stone smiled. High Counselor Reed will present them tomorrow. I suggest you listen carefully this time. The screen went dark, leaving the Council leaders to watch as humanity's ships continued their silent demonstration of power throughout their space. They had come expecting to give humanity an ultimatum. Instead, they had received one. The Galactic Council chamber looked very different from when High Counselor Reed had last stood there. Gone were the floating platforms that had kept species separate from each other. Now all representatives sat at the same level, in a simple circle. It was humanity's first demand. No more artificial hierarchies. Reed walked to the center of the chamber, exactly where he had stood 1 month ago. But this time, every eye that watched him held respect, tinged with fear, rather than dismissal or contempt. 1 month ago, Reed began, his voice carrying easily through the chamber. Supreme Director Vale gave humanity an ultimatum. Today, I return with humanity's response. He touched a control on his wrist, and a hologram appeared above the chamber. It showed the quantum fold network that now connected human worlds, glowing lines of energy linking distant stars. For too long, the Council has operated on the assumption that older species have the right to control younger ones, Reed continued. That wisdom comes only with age. That power should belong only to those who discovered it first. Vale sat quietly in his seat, no longer on an elevated platform. His 4 eyes watched Reed carefully. Humanity rejects this assumption, Reed said. We believe that wisdom comes from learning, from growing, from working together, which is why we're offering to share our quantum fold technology with every species in the Council. Shocked whispers filled the chamber. This was not what anyone had expected. But Reed raised his hand for silence. There are conditions. First, the council will be reformed. Every species gets an equal vote. No more artificial ranks based on age or territory. He looked around the chamber. Second, all species must share their technological advances with the others. No more keeping secrets. No more playing one race against another. We either grow together, or we stagnate alone. Marcus, sitting among the other analysts, nodded slowly. It made sense. Humans hadn't just built better technology. They were trying to build a better galaxy. Third, Reed continued, any attempt to use military force against another council species will result in immediate quantum isolation. No exceptions, no appeals. The era of solving problems through warfare is over. He touched his control again, and the hologram changed to show the shipyard that Admiral Stone had isolated. With a flash of light, it reappeared in normal space. As a show of good faith, we're restoring all military installations to normal space. Your ships and crews are unharmed. Consider it humanity's way of demonstrating that we want to build bridges, not walls. Vale stood up. And if we refuse these terms? Reed smiled, but there was steel in his voice. Then humanity will keep its quantum-fold technology to itself. We'll remain isolated behind our barriers, watching as the Council continues its slow slide into stagnation and conflict. The choice is yours. An older Council member stood up. You speak of equality, yet you threaten us with isolation. How is this different from the Council's old ways? Because we're not demanding your submission, Reed answered. We're offering you a choice between the old way of doing things, which clearly isn't working, and a new approach that could benefit everyone. We're not asking you to kneel. We're asking you to stand up together. One by one, Council members began to stand, not in submission, but in agreement. They had seen humanity's power. More importantly, they had seen humanity's restraint. Vale was the last to rise. I move to accept humanity's terms, he said quietly, and to step down as Supreme Director. The time for Supreme anything is over. Reed nodded. Then let's begin our work. We have a galaxy to rebuild, and this time, we'll do it together. As the Council members broke into discussion groups, Marcus watched Reed talking quietly with representatives from various species. The humans could have demanded anything, could have ruled through force. Instead, they had chosen to use their power to create something new. Perhaps, Marcus thought, that was the biggest difference between humans and the Council races. The Council had always tried to prevent change. Humans, they embraced it. And now, finally, the galaxy would change with them.